still make it. So I don't know if it was one of my favorite dishes growing up or if it was my dad's because he always had us making it. But baked chicken, white rice, and vegetables. So steamed vegetables, carrots, broccoli, and cauliflower. That is like my go-to, and it's still like with my family now. It's super easy to make, super healthy, and we love it. It's very delicious. So that meal right there just reminds me of my dad in general. I don't know why. I know that we've made a lot of stuff or we've eaten a lot of meals, but that only reminds me of my dad. So everything was measurements and everything was fresh. So now I don't do the fresh vegetables anymore, but my dad would actually have us like wash the broccoli, wash the cauliflower, peel the carrots, cut everything up, and steam everything. But he definitely measured everything. So to this day, I still measure everything.
Have you been able to have similar moments with your children in the kitchen?
Oh yeah, we've done a lot of where we cook stuff together as a family. So tamales being one of them, but one that we've done over the years is like making our own personal pizzas. So we've done that a lot. That's kind of been like our go-to, either like birthday parties. We've done it for Christmas Eve. We've done it for like just a weekend, like when our kids have friends over. So that's been a big one. I know now my 15-year-old, he's the one that like really likes to cook. His go-to is fish, steamed vegetables, rice. He loves to eat very healthy. But I know my older son, he's 20, almost 23 now. He did culinary in high school. So he would come home with like his little dishes and stuff that he would make, or he would say, "Let me make this today, Mom. Let me make that." I'm like, "Okay." So we've tried some new stuff, like not really just meals from when I was a kid, but stuff that we've kind of either seen on, TikTok or YouTube or something. We're like, okay, let's try this out. I feel like my food has a very unique taste. When people do ask me, how do you make your rice, or how do you make your beans, or how do you make your pico de gallo, those are like my three that people just absolutely fall in love with for some reason. My explanation to them as far as seasoning is taste it to your liking. So I can't tell you how much of what to put in it because I don't even know. That is the only thing that I don't measure is my seasonings. I've got to measure like the water or the amount of rice or something like that. But my seasonings, it's more to what do I like, what tastes good to me, what works for me. And then it just seems to work for everybody else because everybody loves it. But I feel like that's how it is in life. It's more of what's making you happy, what works for you, what goes with how your life is going. Because if you try to live from somebody else's life or their perspective or what works for them, it's not going to work for you. So in my cooking, that's kind of how I see it. It's my own ingredients, my own measurements, my own way of doing it that works for me. And it's been successful. So cooking has really brought me a very long way financially. From the beginning of getting sick, I've always cooked just because I enjoyed doing it. I loved doing it. When I had heart surgery 10 years ago, it's been 10 years now. So when I had heart surgery 10 years ago and I could not work, the first thing I thought was, how can I make money from my meals? And being that, not being licensed and not having the really more of the opportunity to expand either a business or get my name out there, I had to just figure out what I was going to do on my own. So where I started was tire shops and insurance businesses and, just little clinics where I did go to these places, personally and just walked up and said, "Hey, I'm going to be selling food tomorrow. Would you like to buy a plate?" And it started as menudo. It started as enchilada plates. I did lasagna. I did tacos. I mean, I did pretty much anything in the beginning. And then people would start giving me recommendations because I would ask, what do y'all want to eat then? And I was able to help pay a lot of the bills like that because it was something that I loved to do. It was a passion, and supporting my family is a passion. Being able to pay bills and being able to have some kind of income has always, that's where my heart's at, is still being able to benefit my family in some way, regardless of what I go through. So the passion behind that, I think, is really what made my food taste like 1,000 times better. I would definitely sell out every day. I would have orders coming in ahead of time. I've had, where the tire shops would tell other tire shops, and they're like, this lady has this food, and she comes and delivers it to you. So it's brought me a long way. It really has. It's been able to still give me a purpose, I want to say, being that I haven't been able to be employed full time or be able to have the income and work like, I hate saying like a normal person, but that's really what it is. It really is. I want to say my story started 10 years ago. Before that, I feel like I was a very normal person. Very just, get up, go to work, or, get up, get your kids ready, go to work, do what you got to do, come home, make dinner, and kind of just live this normal life. But 10 years ago, I want to say, 10 years ago, I started having a lot of passing out episodes. I was tired all the time. I couldn't get out of bed. I was always very weak, very exhausted. And we ended up finding out that my heart was not working the way it's supposed to. So we had a very short notice of, you are getting a pacemaker. You're going into surgery. This is going to be your life from now on. So it was very scary, very nerve-wracking. I wasn't sure. I knew it was severe. I just wasn't sure how severe it was for my life. I didn't know that it was going to flip everything upside down. I didn't know that things were no longer going to be normal. I didn't know that I couldn't have a normal job anymore or really work the amount of hours that somebody would need to work nowadays to make ends meet. So knowing that I had a lot of medical expenses coming, this is something I do have the rest of my life, so I will always need to see a doctor. My battery needs to be replaced every 10 years. So right now I have about 4 months left on my battery. So I'll have heart surgery again. Knowing that, I knew that I needed to be on disability. So I knew that I needed to pretty much just change everything about my life. Everything that was normal to me. So that was, changing the jobs that I had. I think the most difficult part was, in order to qualify for disability, is you have to be unemployed for 2 years. So it's like, how does one just become unemployed for 2 years? That is, you need to not show any income. You need to not show that you're capable of having a job. And it was hard because even though I knew that I could work part-time, to qualify for disability, you can't even do that. It's like zero income, no work at all. You can have nothing on the books. And I'm like, okay, but I can work 10 hours a week. I know I can still be some kind of help to society, to my family. So that was very hard. I went through a lot of depression with that. I went through a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic attacks. I did end up in a mental facility. I want to say about 8 months after heart surgery, just not being able to control the panic attacks and the depression. So that was a big, that was a heartbreak. That was a huge heartbreak because in the beginning I knew it was hard, but I did think that I could do it on my own. I did really think that this was something that I could overcome because I've always been a very strong woman. I've always been very strong mentally and, physically, emotionally. I felt like I've always been able to kind of handle things on my own. So when it did get to the point where I did need to be hospitalized, it brought on a lot more depression because I was like, okay, I can't handle this on my own. I'm not able to do this by myself. of course, after being in the hospital for 10 days, I did, I think, about 2 to 3 months of outpatient, a lot of counseling, a lot of help, a lot of coping skills, and just classes. I learned that it was very normal to not be able to do it on your own. That's not such a bad thing. It's not the worst thing to need help or to seek help or to reach out. So it took me a while though. It did, and I feel like I'm a lot stronger from it. So from that process, definitely got approved for disability. They were like, okay, there's a lot going on here. I've had disability. I've been on disability the past 8 years. So I've maneuvered through every kind of part-time job you can think of. I've worked from home. I've worked overnights. I've worked in an office. I've done everything that my body could possibly handle, everything that my mind could handle, everything, physically or mentally that I felt was a possibility for me. I've never been one to just sit here and just be like, oh well, let's just let disability pay my bills, or because they don't give you very much, or let's just let the world turn around you. I've never been that. I have this drive in me to continue to go, to continue to shine, to continue to help people. That is the biggest thing for me. What makes me happy in life is being able to help others, being able to help them financially, being able to help them emotionally. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. I love giving them advice. So I have become very proud of the fact that I went into a mental facility and got help, because now I can help other people. So something that I was once ashamed of or once embarrassed of going through, now I'm like, I went there. I did that. I went through it. Let's get you some help. Let's see, if I can give you advice, or if I can help you find a clinic, or if I can help you find a counselor. It brings me a lot of joy now because I have that experience behind me. I've done it. I've gone through it. So I still deal with some anxiety, of course. I still have health issues, so that naturally brings you some fears. Anytime I feel just a little bit off, I'm like, okay, is this the day? Or, how serious is this? Or so there's a little bit of anxiety that still plays there. But I feel like my drive to help people definitely overrides all of that, because it keeps me going. It gives me something to do. And I do have a tendency to take on more than what I can handle sometimes. But I feel like as long as my brain is still moving, that I'm like, okay, we're good. Because the second I stop moving is where everything kind of just plays back to me. And I always feel like I should be doing something.
So you're constantly pouring into your family, your children, into other people, whether it's through volunteering, fundraising for others. You just did this huge toy drive in the community to help other families be able to provide presents to their children, on top of making dozens and dozens and dozens of tamale orders, on top of working, on top of showing up. You said today you have, practice with one of your sons for the sports team. So you're pouring out in so many different people, in so many different ways. But who or what is pouring back into you?
I feel what pours into me is the joy in everybody else. So I know that may seem difficult to kind of comprehend or understand, because I think sometimes I try to understand that as well. But being able to be there for my family brings me that happiness that I need. So when the doctors have told me plenty of times, like, you need to stop working, like, that's enough, take a break, this drive that you have is gonna exhaust you, or it's the reason that you're tired, or it's the reason that you're, sometimes they will say, you're not healing, or you're not like giving your body time to rest. I honestly see it the opposite way. is when I stop doing stuff and when I stop pouring into people and when I stop giving is when I start to feel down. I start to feel more depressed. I don't want to get out of bed because I don't feel like I'm doing something. I don't feel like there's a drive there. But I mean, I have a really good support system. I do. My husband is amazing. He is at everything with me. He goes to all my events. He makes sure, he's always by my side when I have my infusions. Even my infusion nurse, she's like, y'all are just the cutest ever. Like, you are here every single time. He can't even be in the infusion room with me because there's other, patients there. He has to sit in the lobby on a bench for like 8 hours, just sitting there waiting for me to be finished. And every time we have an infusion, he walks in with all of my stuff in his hand. So he takes my pillow, my blanket, my bag that has my charger, my water bottle. He carries everything in for me, makes sure I get situated and seated down, tucks me in and does all his stuff, gives me a kiss. And he sits in the lobby for 8 hours until I finish. And then he drives me home and literally babies me. He's like, okay, what do you need? He tucks me into bed, make sure the kids are fed, make sure everything's taken care of. So having him through this entire process has been amazing. Mm-hmm. Because I do think back on my life and I do think back on relationships that I've had. I've been divorced before, and when I was healthy, the relationships that I was in seemed okay. But being sick, I know that God put the person next to me that I needed next to me at that time. Like, I know this man is going to be the one to push my wheelchair. I know this man is going to be the one to change my clothes. And he's had to shower me plenty of times from being sick and being injured, having surgeries. He's washed my hair, he's done things for me that I know God put him here for a reason. He is what I needed through this. And God knew my purpose and he knew who I needed by my side through this purpose. Because if I tell him I'm going to cook 1,000 burgers for the homeless, he's like, I'm right by your side. If I tell him I want to cook this or I want to do a plate sale or I want to sponsor, we've sponsored a wedding before. We've catered for somebody that didn't have the money for it, and we took care of everything. He loves me so much that pours into the community as well, because he knows that I love the community. He knows that I love to help people, and he's gonna do whatever it takes, to be by my side. So we get that, we have that extra strength behind us. It's not just me by myself. He supports me in everything I do. So, same thing for my kids. They see me doing so much and they see me giving and they see me helping, that I know that I'm going to bring up kids that have that same passion. I know that they're going to want to give back. I know that they're going to want to help people. And that's really my goal, is to love so hardly and love so much that it pours into people and they have that overflow. And then they get to love other people and they get to give. So there's a building that's been abandoned near where we live for probably like 20 years. But for the past couple of years, I always tell my husband when we pass it, I'm like, there's our restaurant. There's our restaurant. He's like, what do you mean? For the longest, he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm telling you, like, that's going to be my restaurant one day. And he's like, why do you say that? I'm like, because I don't know. I was like, I just feel like it is. I really feel like it is. I really feel like, I mean, if it's not that building, it's going to be a building. And he'll tell me sometimes, he's like, you really want a restaurant, don't you? And I'm like, I do. I really do. I want a place that people can come and feel loved, and not just through the food, through the atmosphere, through when they walk in the door, that they know that they are welcome, they know they are loved, they know that they are coming for a great meal, but also this atmosphere where they know that they're going to get prayed for. They know that, they're going to get talked through something if they need to get talked through. I want to be able to, of course, get to an opportunity to where people can come and eat for free. if you don't have the income to pay, if you don't have the money, if you're hungry, somewhere where I can give back to the community, somewhere where I can just, and if I could, I don't know why this just popped in my head, like a half counseling, half restaurant. Right? Like this section, like, do you need to be prayed for? Do you want somebody to talk to you, or do you hungry? Like, do you want to feed your soul, or do you want to feed your stomach? It's
a real ministry.
Yes, and it is. There's just, I think that I have so many passions and so many drives and so much to give, that I definitely have been taking some time to really think and realize, like, okay, you've got to point in a certain direction, because you can't give everywhere and everything as much as I would want to. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where my future exactly is, but I know that it's very bright. I do know that. I finally see that, and I finally feel that, and I refuse to let it just, slide under me at this point. Like I said, it's only been a few years since I've seen my shine. So there's a few years there where I kind of just let it pass me by, when I should have just grabbed it. I should have just grabbed it and held on to it and took off with it. But now I'm ready. Now I'm like, okay, God's going to lead me. He knows where I need to be at. He's going to put the right people in front of me, and doors are going to open. So I'm ready for it. I started a YouTube channel.
Good.
So I've got some videos on. I think it started as like my infusion journey.
Yeah.
When I started IVIG, and then when I switched to SCIG, I did some. But now it's really has turned into like my journey on life, my journey of what I've gone through. Just really documenting the normalcy of being broken, the normalcy of, like I said, through heart surgery. It was a traumatic experience for me. I'm on disability, which is crazy. When you see the amount of health issues I have and the amount of diagnosis I have, you would think I'm on disability for that, but I'm not. I'm on disability for PTSD. Heart surgery caused this, this post-traumatic stress disorder that was so severe that I could not leave my home. I wasn't going to appointments. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't living life. And it really brought on, like I said, this depression of, why am I going through this? What is going on? This is not normal. But you come to learn that it is normal. It is very normal for something like that, or any kind of traumatic experience, to cause this change in your life, mentally, physically, emotionally. And it just takes that fight and that drive to come back from it. It takes that will, that desire. And that's always been mine through all of my illnesses, through just being sick, through the doctors telling me, you now have this, you now have that. My whole thing is, okay, good. How do we beat it? If there's not a cure, okay, how do I live my life with this? How do I just continue to live? Okay, I can't have this job. Then what job can I have? Because I refuse to just sit here and be incomeless. I refuse to just sit here and watch my family struggle. I'm like, no, there is something that I can do. If I'm going to cook out of my home, then that's what I'm going to do. God gave me this passion for a reason. God gave me this skill for a reason. And I'm going to use it, whatever it may be, whatever's getting thrown my way. I know that there is another door, and I'm just going to keep searching for them through all of it, till my last day. It's okay. That door is closed. What's the next one? If it means me having my own restaurant at some point with my own hours, being able to just do what I love and feed back into the community, then that's where I'm going to be at, and I know that God's going to provide that along the way. And I don't have a rush for it. I'm not rushed to like, this needs to happen today or next year or 2 years from now. I don't have a goal. I don't. It's to not be successful financially. It's to be successful as a person, as a human being, to make a difference. And really that's where my heart is at, is how can I make a difference? As of this month, I'm unemployed because my contracts that I had ended in December. So I did take about 2 months, November and December, just really thinking, okay, you got to do something. Where are you going to work at? What are you going to do? And God really just set me down and said, wait. And I'm not sure what I'm waiting for, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Something's going to happen. I know that. I really feel it. And I didn't want for my goal to be, okay, you need an income, jump into a job that's going to pull you away from where your desire's at. And that's really what my heart was telling me was, if you jump into any job right now, you're going to take away from what's coming. So I am at a standstill. I am waiting. I am patiently waiting for what God has in store for me. And it's going to be something where I'm feeding back into the community. I know it. I just have that feeling that it's there. And so I'm excited for it. I'm having the patience though.